At 3:30 in the afternoon on September 17th, 2024, thousands of pagers clipped to belts and shirt pockets across Lebanon and Syria began beeping at almost exactly the same moment. The message on the screen told the holder to press two buttons to read it. Anyone who did was holding the device inches from their face when it detonated. This is the story of the most complicated intelligence operation Israel's Mossad has ever run, and the operation didn't start with a bomb. It started 2 years earlier with a company that made nothing but pagers, for no reason anyone could ever trace. Rewind to 2022, Hezbollah's leadership had grown paranoid about smartphones, correctly guessing that Israel could track and even listen through them. Long before that paranoia turned into an actual policy change, Mossad was already building the answer to a problem Hezbollah hadn't asked yet. A company called BAC Consulting was set up in Budapest, Hungary, on paper an ordinary contractor licensed to build pagers for a real, legitimate Taiwanese company called Gold Apollo. In reality, Israeli intelligence controlled it from the start, along with at least one additional shell company layered in to keep the ownership impossible to trace back to any single source. For 2 years, BAC Consulting did completely normal business. It built pagers. It shipped pagers. Nothing about it looked like anything. Then in February 2024, Hassan Nasrallah, Hezbollah's Secretary General, stood in front of his own membership and told them to abandon smartphones entirely, warning that Israel had infiltrated too many of them. He was right about the threat and catastrophically wrong about the fix. Hezbollah needed a new communication device fast, at scale, for thousands of operatives across Lebanon. And there, already built, already trusted, already invisible, was a company that had spent 2 years doing nothing but proving it could deliver exactly that. Shipments of the rigged pagers into Lebanon began ramping up through the following months. Each device looked, felt, and functioned like an ordinary pager. Inside the battery of everyone sat up to 3 grams of PETN, a military-grade explosive wired to detonate on a remote signal disguised as an incoming page. Thousands of these were distributed through Hezbollah's own internal supply chain, handed out member by member, worn on the body, kept within arm's reach at all times, because that's what a pager is for. For months, nothing happened. That's the part almost nobody talks about. An operation built to look, for years, like it was going nowhere at all. Intelligence work at this scale isn't a single dramatic strike. It's building a supply chain from the ground up, staffing a fake company with real employees who may have had no idea what they were actually part of, and waiting for the target to walk directly into a trap built 2 years before the target even knew it needed the thing that was trapping it. September 17th, 2024, 3:30 p.m., the signal went out. Across Lebanon and parts of Syria, pagers began exploding almost simultaneously, in markets, in cars, in homes, in the hands of people reading the message that had just arrived. The explosions were small individually. 3 grams of explosive is not a large charge, but they were positioned as close to a human hand and face as any explosive device could possibly be by design, because the person carrying it had just been instructed to look directly at it. The next day, September 18th, a second wave hit. This time the target was ICOM Walkie-Talkies, a different device entirely, rigged the same way, detonating in a second coordinated wave that killed at least 20 more people and injured hundreds. 2 devices, 2 waves, 1 operation, timed a day apart specifically to catch anyone who'd survived the first wave and instinctively reach for their backup communication method. When the casualty count settled, Lebanese health authorities reported at least 37 people killed and nearly 3,000 injured across both waves combined, a number that included children and included bystanders who had nothing to do with Hezbollah at all, standing near someone who did. Hospitals across Lebanon, already stretched thin, were suddenly flooded with thousands of patients with near identical injuries to their hands and faces, all arriving within the same handful of hours, a pattern so specific that doctors on the ground understood almost immediately this wasn't an accident or a manufacturing defect. It was an attack. delivered through a device nobody had ever needed to be suspicious of. Hezbollah's own leadership later admitted the operation devastated the organization's internal command structure in ways that outlasted the physical damage entirely. Communication trust, the basic assumption that a device handed to you by your own organization is safe to hold, doesn't come back quickly once it's been broken. This specifically, Nasrallah himself reportedly called it one of the most severe blows the organization had ever absorbed, and he was killed by an Israeli strike less than 2 weeks later. What makes this operation different from almost any other targeted strike in modern intelligence history isn't the explosion, it's the patience behind it. A company built years in advance, run legitimately enough to pass real business scrutiny, waiting for a target that hadn't made its fatal decision yet. Most intelligence failures get discovered because someone rushed. This operation worked brutally and at civilian cost, precisely because nobody involved was in any hurry at all.